Here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts. Hey, Pete, ever wonder what Steven Spielberg's favorite film is?
You know, Andy, I've heard he loves classics like Lawrence of Arabia, Meet Me in St. Louis.
Imagine chatting with him about why those films resonate with him so much.
That's exactly what we do on our podcast, Movies We Like. We've had incredible guests like actress Dee Wallace, cinematographer Eric Messerschmidt, director Steve Miner, and former Disney animators Tom and Tony Bancroft.
They share their favorite films and the impact they've had on their careers, offering fascinating insights into the craftsmanship and storytelling techniques that make these movies so special.
If you're curious about the magic behind the scenes, subscribe to Movies We Like from True Story FM on your favorite podcast app. New episodes are released on the fourth Monday of each month with early access for our members.
Join us on Movies We Like as we explore the movies we all like with the people who make them.
And Stephen, our people will call your people. Let's make this happen, puppy.
Subscribe today.
Coming up on The Devil's Details, different family strokes matter for all in the full house. Kotter, Paradise Lost, Book 3. Good morning, Star Lovelies, and welcome to another episode of The Devil's Details, a show where we dig up, decipher, dissect, and deconstruct the many forms of the devil. One of my names is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I sometimes go by Keenan Diaz.
And we're just two lost souls hitchhiking down the highway to hell. And just a reminder, today's episode was originally recorded as bonus content for our first podcast, The Exorcist Minute, so I think we should hand it over. Take it away, past Lester and Keenan. And today, we are covering Book 3 of John Milton's epic poem, Paradise Lost. You'll remember last time, folks, Satan called a council in pandemonium with all the other angels. Some argued for war, some for peaceful sloth.
Peaceful sloth.
Oh, yeah, that slothy goodness. And others just wanted to have an 80s montage where they fix up hell and make it a place fit to live, right? But ultimately, the new plan was to decide to send someone out to brave the realm of chaos and find this new Earth they've been hearing so much about, and this new creature called man. And Satan volunteers, and everybody cheers because everybody loves Satan. And he's like, Deborah, I'm going out to initiate the fall of man. Do you need anything, sweetie?
Everybody loves Satan.
Oh, Beelzebub, lighten up. That's Satan and Beelzebub's mom. Played by Doris Roberts. No, he heads to the gates of hell, where he finds. This really is a sitcom. He finds his wife, his daughter, his son, and his grandson, and that's 2 people.
Coming Wednesdays this fall on Fox.
Full House? Question mark.
Family Matters.
Family Matters.
Father knows best.
Yeah. All in the Oh no. Wow, just all Keenan, all the 80s and 90s sitcom titles are just all about incest. That's what that
all
is.
It is. Good times. Different strokes.
Oh, God.
All right.
Welcome back, Kotter. No. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So no, yeah. There's a bit of family drama. He meets sin and death, right? Sin being his daughter / lover, and death being his son / grandson, because we already explained that in book 2. I'm not going to go through it again.
We're going to run into them a couple of times.
Yeah, we are, right? They're going to build a highway to hell. No. And we're going to see a stairway to heaven in this one. So yeah, but no. So yeah, there's a bit of family drama. Their sin and death are guarding the gates, but Satan's like, kids, Dad's got a plan. And they're like, okay. And they open up the gates, and Satan enters the realm of chaos, ruled by chaos. and he meets chaos, and chaos points the way to this new world, this earth. And Satan gets right up to the border of heaven, and he sees below, hanging by a golden chain, he sees the world, he sees the earth. And he sets his course for it, and that's where the second book ends, and that's where we pick up today. But first, as always, let's read the argument, or this is the trailer, this is the Star Wars crawl at the top of each book, and this is the argument for Book 3. So, God, sitting on his throne, sees Satan flying towards this world, then newly created. shows him to the Son who sat at his right hand, foretells the success of Satan in perverting mankind, clears his own justice and wisdom from all imputation, having created man free and able enough to have withstood his tempter, yet declares his purpose of grace towards him. In regard he fell not of his own malice, as did Satan, but by him seduced. The Son of God renders praises to his Father for the manifestation of his gracious purpose towards man. But God again declares that grace cannot be extended towards man without the satisfaction of divine justice. Man hath offended the majesty of God by aspiring to Godhead, and therefore with all his progeny devoted to death must die, unless someone can be found sufficient to answer for this offense, and undergo his punishment. The Son of God freely offers himself as a ransom for man. The Father accepts him, ordains his incarnation, pronounces his exaltation above all names in heaven and earth, commands all the angels to adore him. They obey, and hymning to their harps in full choir, celebrate the Father and the Son. Meanwhile, Satan alights upon the bare convex of this world's outermost orb, where, wandering, he first finds a place since called the limbo of vanity. Yeah, folks, you thought we were done with that, too. No. What persons and things fly up thither. Thence comes to the gate of heaven, described ascending by stairs, and the waters above the firmament that flow about it. His passage thence to the orb of the sun. He finds there Uriel, the regent of that orb, but first changes himself into the shape of a meaner angel, and, pretending a zealous desire to behold the new creation and man whom God had placed there, inquires of him the place of his habitation, and is directed. Alights first on Mount Nephades.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, folks, that's what we got today.
And you know what, Lester? Good job with all of this, because, I mean, you're reading it, but, like, Milton spells choir with a Q, you know, and it's all crazy. Ransom has
folks,
an E in it for, you know.
Yeah, if you're reading along, folks, I'm doing some. I'm seeing them just as they come up. It's like running an obstacle course in the dark. And I'm just like, oh, hymns. Oh, he spells hymns this way, and he spells choir this way.
You know, and online, you know, there's there, and there, and Milton has invented a fourth version of there. Yeah. So good work, Lester. That's all I'm saying.
He even has a different way to spell limbo.
Unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Don't mess with my limbo.
Yeah. But it's like the first thing is like he, what was it? God sitting on his throne, sees Satan flying towards this world, then newly created, shoos him to the sun. That's SHEWS. I'm thinking that means shows, but, you know, it's shoes, right? Because Milton's God is Groundskeeper Willie.
Right. Do you want to get shooed, boy?
Okay. So yeah, folks, that is what we got today. That was the argument for book 3. You might notice there's a lot of God and Jesus in this book.
Yeah, there's a lot of God and Jesus in this book.
There's quite a lot. Yeah. You might say it's ever present. Yeah. It's omnipresent. Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure this is around where I stopped reading in high school. Not because I thought it was heretical, but because I just didn't find it as interesting. I think a lot of people feel the same way around this point. It's the same reason why many of us don't read past Dante's Inferno, right? Maybe Purgatorio, but I imagine even fewer people read Paradiso. Right?
Yeah.
And that's because, as we said on the show, right, quoting Simone Weil, imaginary evil is romantic and varied. Real evil is gloomy, monotonous, barren, boring. Imaginary good is boring. Real good is always new, marvelous, intoxicating. But yeah, so this is, you know, imaginary good, right? As much as Milton would have us believe that this is God sitting on his throne with Jesus at his right hand, these are characters that Milton created, just like his Satan. But the difference is that Milton cast Satan as an adventurer, as a fighter, as a general, a fallen king, a rebel, an explorer. Milton cast God as God. Or at least how he understands God to be. And this is where he gets in a bit of hot water. Some critics have argued that portraying God as a character risks anthropomorphizing, let me say that word again, anthropomorphizing the divine and reducing the ineffable nature of God to a human-like figure. They see it as presumptuous and overly simplistic, since God is supposed to be beyond human comprehension. They also argue that attributing human-like motives and decisions to God can raise moral and theological concerns, particularly in how God handles the problem of evil, which that's the whole reason Milton put him here in this chapter, in this book. In fact, that's the whole reason of the entire poem, he says, is to justify the ways of God to men. And the way Milton chose to do that was to make God a character and have him justify himself. And they inevitably compare this to Dante's Paradiso, where Dante also meets God, but God is less of a traditional character with like human attributes and more of a transcendent spiritual, overwhelming presence that Dante cannot describe. Right?
I have to take your word on that.
Yeah, I haven't read it. I just that's what I hear, right? But yeah, like compared to Milton's God, who has a body and is sitting on a throne and is saying words like a regular character. I don't know. Keenan, how do you feel about this?
I mean, I understand those critiques, but they should talk to the writers of the Bible who do some of that stuff. I do a lot of that stuff, right? They anthropomorphize him. They have him explaining, in the vernacular to Job why he's doing things.
Right.
Yeah, so I get it. I mean, this is Milton writing it as a fictional character, and but wouldn't everybody understand that this is a version? I mean, this is in the 1600s. These aren't like unsophisticated people. They understand that this is, Milton's version of it, and that it is a character. I would think he's not writing this like it is a Bible, like he's writing a new Bible or a new gospel. I mean,
true, but I wonder if back then it was just heretical to even have God be a character. Like, I remember when I was growing up and there, I was just like, oh, can I wear my devil costume in heaven? Right. It's like, no, you can wear your devil costume, on Halloween. But I remember then asking, well, can I dress up as Jesus for Halloween? And my mom being like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, why not? Just like this innocent kid. It's like, geez, I can't dress up as the devil in heaven and I can't dress up as Jesus for Halloween,
Well, you could dress up like Jesus in hell if you'd like to, little boy.
I mean, yeah, like they probably have no problem with that, But no, like I think that's the sticking point for these people. It's not that like, it's not so much how God is portrayed, but that he is portrayed at all, versus, I don't know, like, I kind of feel that there's like a little bit of separation in the Bible. There's like this, the style in which God is a character in the Bible versus how he's here. I don't know, like you got me on that one, Keenan.
Okay.
Yeah. It feels a little bit different, but maybe that's just because I understand that this is the Bible and this is,
this is fiction, right?
Yeah, right. But yeah. So for me, like I said, this conversation between God and Jesus is one of the less exciting bits in this poem, and it also, like I said, trivializes God in such a way. And any kind of like fictional depiction of God is going to trivialize him. But the thing that he's saying right now is supposed to be the center of the poem. Like, he's talking about the problem of evil. He's trying to have God, the character, explain to us the problem of evil. But even if it's God, the character, the words are still coming from Milton, the writer, right? Which, this whole thing is Bible fan fiction. And there have been fictional depictions of God that have worked for me. And I can't explain why that is. I'm mostly thinking of like comedies.
Sure.
Maybe it's because they stated up front that it's a comedy and it's not like aiming for anything more.
This is what Oh God with George
like
Burns
Oh God,
says,
yeah, with
or
George Burns, or
Bruce Almighty or something.
Yeah, or even like watching Good Omens now, right?
The God is in Good Omens,
right? Well, like her voice.
Oh,
right?
really? Okay,
yes, her voice. Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And yeah, like those depictions are a little bit more palatable. I think because it's like it's stating right off the bat, like this is going to be irreverent. This is a parody. This is a play. Like we're not pretending to be. I'm not trying to justify the ways of God to men, right?
In American Dad, Stan prays at one point, and he says, "Dear Lord, it's me, Stan, etc." And he says, "And once again, I apologize for them casting Whoopi Goldberg to play you in that Muppet movie. I was not a part of that decision."
So God has been a character, and we have had fun with the character of God. I'm thinking, maybe we should talk about this on the show, like as an extra little thing. Have you seen that little like animated series God, the Devil, and Bob?
Oh yeah, God, the Devil, and Bob, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I saw every episode of it because it lasted like 5 episodes.
Yeah, it was just 5 episodes. Yeah. So, folks, I think it's on YouTube in its entirety.
Oh, okay.
Go check out God, the Devil, and Bob. It's a pretty fun little romp.
And that God looks like Jerry Garcia, and that's kind of the idea. And he's like wears sandals and it's kind of like a slacker, right?
Kind of like a hippie, older person. Right. Yeah, right. And he's like the first thing we see him doing is like stealing a beer. And he's but like he's got that wisdom. He's got that God wisdom. But yeah, no, I like that show.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, because Milton is writing in, he's like a couple of decades removed from Shakespeare, so it has that Shakespearean language. So it feels like the Bible in some ways because we associate that. I don't know what you'd call it, Jamesian or Stuartian or whatever, like that that level of early modern English that we know from the King James Bible. Like, well, this sounds like scripture, but it's not.
Right, it isn't.
It's just for funsies. Don't you worry.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, so let's get into this book proper. It opens with another invocation. Remember, Milton invoked the power of the Holy Spirit to be his muse at the beginning of the poem in book 1. Now, at the beginning of this book, book 3, he is singing his praises to light, specifically light. First thing created by God and something he is glad to be in the presence of once again. I feel like he's doing that thing. I actually like this when authors do this. He's like, boy, those first 2 chapters were pretty dark and scary. It's good to be back in the light, right? This is something that Dickens sometimes does, or someone imitating Dickens. Like he'll dip in and he'll be like, oh, this next part is actually a little bit spooky. You might want to get ready, right? Or he's like, oh, I'll just tell you now. These new people that Oliver Twist meets are really shitty to him, but it gets better after this, I promise. And then it does. Yeah,
Harriet Beecher Stowe does that in Uncle Tom's Cabin, which I read pretty recently, and it's a little interesting because I mean she's like, well, yeah, slavery really sucks, but here's a lighter chapter. I'm like, I don't know if I want a lighter chapter, Mrs. Stowe.
We're talking about some serious shit right here.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, and then, like when the spooky stuff is all over for Dickens, like he'll begin the next chapter was like, phew, glad that's over, right? So yeah, so Milton's like, oh great, light, thank God, literally. Like those first 2 chapters were just too fun. I mean, scary. Yeah. But also, okay, so Milton is playing the part of the blind prophet here, or the blind poet, much like Homer, and he mourns that he cannot see this light, though he can still delight in holy song, both listening and singing. He says he will be like a nightingale which sings in the dark. But he asks that this holy light fill him in any case and give him eyes in his mind that he may, quote, see and tell of things invisible to mortal sight. So after this, the book opens proper, and yes, we get God sitting on his throne up in heaven, observing all of creation. And, okay, it's important to note here, and maybe this is one of the things that, lets God off the hook here, that he is observing all things past, present, and future. I brought these guys up before. It's a podcast called Classical Stuff You Should Know. And they have an episode on the theology of Paradise Lost. And one of the hosts breaks down, I think it's 14 theological principles that you should know before going into Paradise Lost, or you should, just know as you're going into it. And from what I understand, these are principles which apply directly to Milton's story. So like in the Venn diagram between pure fan fiction and actual theology, they've looked at it and they were like, okay, these things in your little story that could actually like jive with theology.
Yeah, he says some of these 14 things are scriptural, and then some of them are like Milton's little twists on them.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it might be, some of them might be like a little bit more over on that one side of the Venn diagram.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't want to borrow too much from them. I highly recommend you check them out for yourself. It's a really nice deep dive into the theology of Paradise Lost. Classical Stuff You Should Know. And then come back here and listen as we giggle about personal pizzas. Yeah. But okay, so one of those theological principles explains how God knew the fall was going to happen and essentially explains why he didn't step in. And I'm paraphrasing here, so if this doesn't make sense, blame me, not them. But it is because God exists out of time. And for God, all things have happened and are happening eternally. God doesn't remember or foresee, he just sees. So for God, This is an example they put forth. They said, for God, Christ is eternally on the cross and also eternally rising. Moses is eternally parting the Red Sea, right? So all of these things are eternally happening, right? They have already happened and they are happening, right?
Mhm.
As soon as God created everything, all creation was finished. It had played out and is playing out, but not in a linear fashion. And the host says, that's a tricky concept for most people, and I would agree. I'm still a little bit shaky on it. I guess that's because I exist in time, and time is linear for me, and we all see time as linear and something that passes. But yeah, that's
you know, Lester, you gotta start seeing beyond linear time, man. I would highly recommend that. Just
Really?
Yeah, just start seeing everything all at once. It's super cool, man.
Yeah. Is there any kind of like substance that can then open my mind to that? Is there...
No, man, you just gotta believe in it, man.
You just gotta believe in it. Yeah, man. That's the problem, man. Satan's a square, man. You know, you can't escape hell if you take hell with you, man. Which is literally, that's what he says. That's his monologue. Yeah.
But there is the graphic novel Watchmen. Do you know Watchmen?
Yes.
I don't know if we talked about it much, but yeah, Dr. Manhattan exists outside of time. So from the point of his birth, he sees himself in the future and the current. And his trouble is that he's trying to still have relationships with people who live in linear time, and he can't explain to them how, his girlfriend is like, how could you be making love to me while you already know that we're not going to be together in the end? And he's like, well, I don't know how to explain it to you that I can do that.
Yeah. So yeah, folks, existing out of time. That's for bigger brains than my own.
Give it a shot, though.
Yeah, I'll try. Like Milton, I will attempt. Yeah. But it certainly aims to explain, at least partially, this scene right here that a lot of people have trouble with. It's another attempt at, quote, justifying the ways of God to men. So God is watching Satan head towards Eden. All the angels are up there with him, with God. And beside him, at his right hand, is Jesus. Now, he doesn't refer to him as Jesus, only the Son. Milton sometimes calls God God, but we'll have to see if he ever says the name Jesus in the poem. I can't remember. But yeah, in any case, God looks down at earth, at the Garden of Eden, where he sees Adam and Eve. Then he looks over the vast waste of chaos, sees hell, and sees Satan flying towards Eden, which, remember, folks, our last book ended with Satan skirting the walls of heaven, trying not to be seen as he attempts to gain entry to the earth. And you imagine it's this like Mission Impossible style heist, right? You got patrolling angels and watchtowers with spotlights, and Satan's hugging the wall, and he's wearing a balaclava, and he's got the music going. It's like dun 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 dun, right? And then in this book, you pan out, and God and all the angels are just up there watching him. And it's completely silent, and just off in the distance you see a little Satan, and you realize that he's making the music. He's like, dun, 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 dun.
And they're just like eating their Pringles and drinking their Dr. Peppers and milling. That's weird. It's like, weird what he's doing.
Right. And just like one of them like whispers to him, this is like brightest angel. Yeah, sure.
Well, he used to be. He used to be the light giver. Yeah.
He's not the brightest bulb in the whatever. We don't have bulbs yet. But yeah. So God sees Satan heading towards Eden, and he basically explains to the Son that Satan will succeed. He will gain entry into Eden and successfully tempt Adam and Eve. And this speech here is the centerpiece, I think, of this book, book 3. And you could say the centerpiece of the whole poem, because God is saying it has to be this way, because the alternative is to make Adam and Eve and Satan mindless programs or slaves that have no free will. And because he loves them, he cannot give them less than absolute freedom of will, freedom of thought, freedom of choice. And this goes with another principle that they mentioned on Classical Stuff You Should Know, and it is that a universe of love needs free will. They make the analogy of like love robots. And they say that, that's not actually love, right? Programming a robot to love is not actual love, right?
Right.
And also, by extension, and maybe we should have covered this principle in book 2 or even book 1 when we were talking about hell, but another principle is that hell has to exist once free will exists. And this sounds cruel and unreasonable if you think of hell as like a punishment inflicted by God. But this actually kind of goes with my idea of hell, Keenan, right? Like if there is one, they make this joke where, the guys on Classical Stuff, they make this joke where Satan is basically like having a fight with God, and he says, I'm going to my room. And I'm going to piggyback off of that and say, God's response to that would be, well, I guess I have to create an upstairs and a room now for you to go to and to be away from me.
Yeah.
And Satan goes up there and he slams the door and he trashes his own room because he's so mad, and he tears down the family photos and he puts up posters of metal bands that he doesn't even like, but at least it's not pictures of him and God. And maybe God comes up there with like a tray of sandwiches, but Satan's like, no. And he doesn't open the door, and instead he just, dips into his stash of extra long Twizzlers. And he's getting malnourished, and he hasn't seen the sun in forever, and that's why hell is like that, right? Better to reign in my angsty teenage bedroom than to have dinner with God.
Right, but you need a hell in order for free will to exist. You need a hell because there has to be consequences to free will, or else that's not free will, right?
Right, exactly, right. But no, okay, so like I'm actually being tongue in cheek here, right? But I actually like this idea, Keenan. It reminds me of the afterlife in What Dreams May Come, where it's what you bring with you to eternity that becomes your environment, right? And so Satan, by his own choice and actions, has removed himself from God's presence. Right. He goes into a place where God is not. God now has to create that place where he is absent. And the absence of God is, that's what some religious scholars say hell is. It's not fire and brimstone. It's just the absence of God. And we don't know how that feels. We don't know until we miss it. It's like your heartbeat or your breath or, the love of someone you take for granted. And so now hell exists. And without God, the only thing to fill hell is all the stuff that Satan brings, right? And what the fallen angels also bring. And I think I'm overstepping Milton's intentions here, but I really like the idea that in the first two books, hell is like that because of Satan and the other angels, right? They had fire and brimstone and gorgons and hydras in their hearts, and they filled this godless vacuum with that stuff.
So we're seeing this now from God's point of view,
right?
Which does throw me off a little bit. But is hell entirely absent of God in this version? Like, how much, is there a boundary where now God cannot see into this hell? Is it like at the gate of hell and God is not there, but he could see in chaos? I'm a little unclear.
Yeah, that's where it is a little bit tricky because that's the, can God make a place that even he can't go to?
Because he does seem to have some control, or it's implied where he allows them to get out of the lake and escape their bounds.
He knows about the council, we assume. He knows about
he must know about the council.
He gives Sin the keys and everything like that.
But has he learned about the council from the future, which he also sees instantaneously?
I think this character God sees into hell, knows all about hell, could go there if he wants, but let's say, rather than the absence of, the distance from.
Right.
Let's reword it a little bit. Let's say hell is the place that is most distant from him.
And them falling in that lake is literally on the opposite end of the universe from heaven, right?
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. So God tells the Son that mankind will also fall, but they will seek and eventually find grace and redemption, in part because unlike Satan, they were tricked, and also unlike Satan, they will wish to redeem themselves. But then the Son, basically, brings up what we were just talking about, how can we have this whole free will thing and then avoid the consequences, which must come from choice? Someone has to bear the weight of those choices. And that's when God looks at him and says, yeah, about that. No, actually, it's the Son who volunteers. God says that he's right. The consequences have to exist and someone has to bear them. And he poses this question to everyone up in heaven. So all the angels are there. And Milton says they all felt sorry for mankind, but none of them wanted to step forward and take the bullet. And this actually, Keenan, reminded me of the council in hell where, Beelzebub puts forth the question of who will go into, chaos, who will brave the realm of chaos and eternal night and, find Eden. But remember, that council was a sham. Beelzebub was setting up Satan to be a hero. But here in heaven, the Son is the one who speaks up, and he says that he will do it. He will pay the debt. And you don't have, there's not the same feeling of duplicity, I feel like. It feels like God and the Son came to this conclusion honestly. They weren't trying to trick the angels and gain favor or reaffirm their power.
Right.
it was a moment of divine inspiration, and they were all like witness to it. So God accepts the son's sacrifice. He raises him up, gives him dominion over the angels, over all things in heaven and earth, and all of heaven sings hymns to praise him. Right?
Yeah, so I think the stuff that's happening between God and the Son is very interesting, like theologically and philosophically. I had trouble with it literarily. Like going away from Satan's point of view really threw me this early. But I guess we're going to be doing that a lot. So maybe if I read this a second time, if I have some other quote unquote friend who makes me read this again sometime in the future, maybe I'll be like, oh, that's just sort of part of the tenor of it. But I think it's, it feels a little weird to me that this is stuff that we're supposed to know, but not Satan. It's not Satan finding this out. That I can just imagine that again if you're rewriting it. Towards the end of Act 2, Satan's like, oh, I'm really going to kick Jesus's butt, and then it's like, well, guess what? We made this decision a whole while ago, and you've just been living out this not quite predestined, but this thing we've already seen is going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So I'm just not sure about seeing it through God's point of view. I'm not sure why we do that.
It is. I mean, let's just tell the truth and shame the devil, folks. Like, those are the most interesting parts of the book.
The devil parts.
The devil parts, right?
Yeah. I want more devil.
Yeah. Right. So we get here. This part of book 3, this beginning of book 3, we assume like it's for our benefit, right? Because it's God kind of like, explaining because Satan is not privy to this conversation.
Right.
Right. Like he is, he's down there, going dun, 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 right? Thinks he's being real sneaky.
Right.
So he doesn't hear any of this. Right. So this is only for us, right? This is like the monologue or a Disney song, right? It's for our benefit, right?
Right. So I don't know enough theologically whether this idea that Jesus existed in a form before he was Jesus that's very interesting stuff. I'm wondering if I don't know the answer, whether that's Milton completely doing this for the very first time, where, the son exists on his own, is a character. Right. He is part of God, but he's able to have a conversation. And then God makes him, that we have that term, God made flesh, God incarnate.
Right. Incarnate.
So
which classical stuff you should know, like they point out, literally just means put into meat.
That's a gross way.
Like incarnate, right?
God made flesh is a nice term, but God made meat is it's not as nice. But
when you think of like, chili con carne and, and all that stuff.
Right.
God, I'm going to hell. Please.
No. But that's what it is, right? That's the idea is like we've taken part of God and made him, not low, but as something that is low, right? We've made him in flesh, right? But so I'm wondering, that's an interesting idea that that the God and the Son were separate. Again, I don't know how to say it. Not separate beings, not quite separate, but they are separate characters enough.
Yeah. I get what, like, that was something that I was having trouble with. Like, is God sitting there essentially talking to himself right now? Or is he, like, does he know what the Son is going to say?
He must, right?
Yeah.
God can't hide from himself. He's God.
Yeah. Or can't. Well, he can do anything, Keenan.
Right. But he's not an angel.
Right.
That then God turns into Jesus.
Right. So folks, let's make that clear right now, right? So God poses the question to everyone in heaven, all of the angels and the Son. The Son is there, right? But like the Son is not like another angel. The Son is God's Son. Right? Yes. Or like part of God, right?
So it's interesting stuff. So all that whole conversation is interesting, and the ramifications of that are interesting. I'm just not sure if I understand it, from a literary standpoint.
I believe I think we talked about this before when we talked about the Archangel Michael, how some denominations of Christianity believe that Michael, right? The name, meaning who is like God, right? That's what the name means, was like proto-Jesus.
Right.
Like was Jesus before Jesus became human.
Right.
Now, I don't know. Definitely Milton doesn't think this because we're going to meet Michael in a couple books later. But I also think, the Son, like the idea of the Son existing as a separate, but also like joined entity from God the Father, is like existed before, Milton did this. But so that is how the first part of this book ends, right? So that's the scene up in heaven. It ends with like much rejoicing and the singing of hymns, right? And I love, like, if you wanted to, like, you could kind of have like this, slow pan, right, down below the clouds. You know how like you go into the surface of the clouds with the water, right, and it kind of like moves in front of the camera, right, and it gets obscured for just a little bit, and then it whoosh, right, now you're like seeing, you know, the sky, right, or something like that, right? So everyone's like, yay, and you know, it goes down, a cloud covers the screen, and it's like, meanwhile, down on Earth.
Yeah, good. We got some Satan stuff now, right?
There we
right?
go,
We're
right?
back to Satan now?
We're back to Satan, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah, he is getting up to some mischief. So let's rejoin him and see what he's up to. So I say he's on Earth, but I kind of lied. From what I can tell, he is in the firmament,
which is like a solid. Like we look up at the stars today, and we all understand. Well, most of us understand that there's no matter to it. But in the ancient world, it was. There's a physical thing that the stars are stuck in, and then I forget which story we were reading where that's like in the Key of Solomon.
The Testament of Solomon.
Testament of Solomon, right? Where we say, that's where angels actually live in the firmament. It's a physical
angels
place.
and demons,
and that's what the stars are.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So he's walking on or in the dome, which we used to believe was like the roof of the world, right? With all the like stars and the planets and the sun and the moon, you know, that's where they're placed, right? And Keenan is absolutely right? In the Testament of Solomon, we talked about how like before the concept of hell, we believed that the demons actually resided in that firmament, right? In like a place between the earth and what they called the outer darkness, right? And Solomon would ask what star the demons came from, and each of them would like name a star or a constellation or the moon or whatever, right?
I'm a Pisces. That's why I'm late all the time.
Yeah.
Or I'm a Pisces, so I get to be late all the time or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
I'm a Sagittarius, so I say rude fucking things to strangers, asshat.
Yeah.
I can't
and it's
help
okay
it.
because I'm a Sagittarius. Oh, that's just me.
That's just me.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, so now Milton is saying, oh, no. Like demons come from hell, but yes, there is still a firmament separating the earth from chaos. And what we now know as space, right? They actually saw as like a tapestry on the firmament.
Right.
So that's where Satan is right now. He's walking in or on the firmament, and Milton describes him like a vulture circling and searching for his prey. Quick note, pay attention every time Satan is compared to an animal. I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time once he's out of hell, because in hell, like he's compared to like a titan and a king and all these like splendid things. But now the comparisons start to devolve. And even if this isn't the first one, this is the first one that I caught. So now he's like a vulture, right? And sometimes these are figurative, like now, and sometimes, well, you know, we'll see.
That's a really.
I think you know what I'm getting.
I'll keep track. Well, yes, I understand later what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to turn into a snake. Sorry, was that inelegant? Was it a little too patronizing? Anyway. But yeah, so Satan's walking along and he observes that there's nothing here. No living things, no plants, no rocks, nothing. And
why
that's
would
when
he observe that?
I don't know.
He ain't never. They just invented Earth.
I think maybe okay. I don't think it's him observing. I think it's Milton telling us.
I think so. That was my point.
Because hey, there's no rocks
it's
here.
So
there's
weird.
no plants.
It's not
there's
like
no
Earth
nothing.
in the 1600s where there's plants and rocks and things.
Where's the special K?
They just invented Earth, and Satan has opinions on it. How weird it looks, which is very strange to me.
But he's wrong because it's not even Earth. You dummy, Satan. Mr. Columbus over here. It's like, this Earth is full of, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, so I think it's Milton telling us that this place is barren.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah. And he chimes in and he says later, Milton does. He chimes in and he, not Satan. But yeah, Milton chimes in and he says, later, this place will be filled with, quote, of all things transitory and vain, when sin with vanity had filled the works of men. And he says it will rise up like steam or smoke and build up here in the firmament and just like swirl around until the end of time. And I like how you can take that both literally and figuratively. Like it almost sounds like he's talking about pollution, like the product of man's machines and his ambition, but also just like this is as high as man's ambition can rise, and it just gets stuck here and swirls around in the firmament. So like once that happens, this place will become sort of like chaos itself, but it will be a chaos created by man. And Milton calls it the paradise of fools. He also refers to it as the limbo of vanity. Oh my God, they did it one time and then they came back and did it. But yeah, so Satan's walking along and he comes to a stairway. It's Stairway to Heaven, folks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back.
That was a joke.
I know. I was looking something up. I'm sorry. Let's go back.
You're supposed to pay attention when I make jokes.
I know. I was trying to find it
so people will think it's funny, even though it's not.
Information to teach them. So as you were speaking, I was trying to look up.
There we go. Right. I will edit that laugh and I will put it right after my Stairway to Heaven joke.
Wait. Let's go back. So I was thinking about pollution.
No, I like this organic. Okay, yeah. Let me
about pollution, and we don't necessarily associate pollution with England until the 1800s. But apparently, no. People were talking about pollution as soon as we started using coal in a big way. So I'm seeing this paper here, air-quality.org.uk.
Okay.
So according to them, in the history of air pollution in the UK, they're saying that they have found evidence of people complaining about air pollution and the use of coal as early as 1273. So where in London they had prohibited coal because it was, quote, prejudicial to health. And then again in 1306 there was a royal proclamation banning craftsmen from using a certain type of coal that here is called sea coal. I don't know what that is exactly, right? But so perhaps Milton was talking about pollution because it does seem like a anachronism, right?
Okay, yeah, no, it definitely does. Yeah. Oh wow! Thank you for that. I didn't even do that research to find out whether I was right or not.
Well, I did it now instead of laughing at your joke.
Yes.
So. All right.
Yes.
Where are we?
That was if anybody missed it, that was the Stairway to Heaven joke that I was actually quite proud of. But
it's very good.
Yeah. Upon researching this book, I think everybody else who has talked about this book has made that joke also.
No, it's a very good joke.
Yeah. Anyway, Stairway to Heaven. But okay, specifically, Milton says it is the stairway that Jacob sees in his dream with all the angels going up and down.
That's a ladder.
I thought was a ladder.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you know that little thing you do with string and you make like cool designs, right? They don't call it Jacob's staircase. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, so beyond this staircase, he can see a kingly palace gate covered in gold and jewels. And as he's looking at it, the stairway descends. It almost kind of like moves closer to his feet. And Milton reflects like maybe this is, tempting Satan to try again, to try to regain heaven, or just kind of reminding him that he can never re-enter paradise.
Right.
But just then, he also catches sight of another passage just under the staircase leading deeper into this new world. And Milton says that even though he had just glimpsed heaven via this stairway to heaven, right? He was struck by the beauty of this new place. And so instead of heaven, he chooses the downward path, right? Rather than the stairs. And I almost want to take this as, and I know I'm completely wrong because Milton is explicitly saying in the poem that this isn't what this is, but I almost want to take it as Satan is presented with a choice. Like he can move back into, he can work for grace again, right? He can climb this arduous stairway back up to a place of redemption, or, he can continue on his way, down this lower path and, fuck up God's project, right? And he chooses to go down the lower path.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, we could take that, either way. I don't think that's what Milton was going for, but that's how I read it.
That's how I read it too. I don't quite understand the other way what it wouldn't be.
Well, because Milton specifically says in the poem, it's like, perhaps it was to tempt Satan to try to regain heaven, or perhaps it was to remind him that he could never regain heaven.
Right.
So it seems like Milton is saying that it was kind of like a jab at Satan. It's like, you want this? You're never going to get this again, right?
Okay.
But I wonder if it's like God extending his hand to Satan. He's like, hey, you want to try this again? You want to come back up and he's knocking on,
heaven's door. He's not. Yes. He's knocking on heaven's door.
Yes. He's knocking. But no, that metaphor of Satan being up in his room and God's just kind of like, hey, buddy, you hungry? I got some food out here.
Right.
You want to try talking again? That's how I read the staircase moving to be.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, in any case, Satan doesn't take the staircase, right? He takes the lower path and he goes down rather than up, right? And now he is properly in the firmament, in what we would call outer space, right? And he's flying past all the planets and the stars, and he's like reflecting. He's wondering like who lives on each of them. But he doesn't stay to ask. He soon spies the sun, the brightest of all things in that place, and so he heads there. And when he lands, Milton says he observed the sun as no astronomer on Earth was able to. So he's on solid ground, and it's not a place of fire, but of brilliant, dazzling light, as if shining from the brightest gold and the brightest jewels. But Milton also makes pains to let us know that this light doesn't hurt your eyes. It's not that kind of bright light, but rather it makes visible all things, and you can see all things clearly, even far off. And remember, folks, Milton is by now blind. So take note whenever he talks about this type of light, which can allow you to see.
Right. But do not take note that you should look in the sun because it won't hurt your eyes.
No, do not. No. The sun is actually not at all like Milton's sun. You will hurt your eyes, right? Yeah. With ocular fire rather than penal fire. Yeah. Right. So Satan is, he's on the surface of the sun. He's looking around, taking it all in. And then he notices he's not alone. A little ways off, with his back to Satan, there's an angel. And Milton says, quote, "The same whom John saw also in the sun. His back was turned, but not his brightness hid. Of beaming sunny rays, a golden tire," I think is how you say it, "circled his head." But like they're saying it's T-I-A-R, right? So not like a Michelin, a golden tire, right?
Tiara.
Yeah. Tiara, yeah, right. "Nor less his locks behind illustrious on his shoulders fledge, with wings lay waving round. On some great charge employed he seemed, or fixed in cogitation deep." So even with his back turned, this angel is resplendent and glorious. Milton's hinting about it being the same angel that John saw doesn't really help. He's referring to Revelation, but that angel is never actually named in the Bible. This angel is not actually in any of the canonical books of the Bible, but he does feature in some of the apocryphal texts. This is Uriel, whom we'll remember also featured in the Testament of Solomon. I believe he was the opposing angel to the demon Orneus, who's played by Gilbert Gottfried. Oh, wait, hang on. Who's played by Gilbert Gottfried? Because he's always sucking thumbs, remember, guys? Right? Yeah. But yeah, so here, Uriel is one of the 7 archangels, along with Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and 3 others that I forgot their names.
But they probably have L at the end.
Yes, probably, right? Let's just say that, yeah. But specifically, Uriel is associated with wisdom and enlightenment. See what you're doing, Milton. Yeah. So, of course, he would be living and working in the sun, right? And that's what he's doing now. Milton says he's got his back to Satan, and he's busy doing something. I don't know why, but I imagine he's in front of like a huge control panel or something, or like a bunch of screens, and he's got a clipboard and he's just like recording data, making sure, everything's running smoothly, right? But no, like Keenan, have you ever read or seen The Phantom Toll Booth?
No, that's one that I know, like all my friends know from my childhood, and I don't know it.
It is so great. Like the book is great. It's got like a whole lot of like great passages in it, like great one-liners, just like really, really well written. And then also the movie, the animated movie, I think it was Chuck Jones who did it.
Yeah.
Was amazing. Yeah, check that out, folks. The Phantom Toll Booth. We're giving you so much homework in this one. But okay, so there's a character in there. I think his name is Chroma the Great, who, if I remember, orchestrates the passage of night and day. So he's like a conductor. He's dressed like a conductor, and like every day or night, like in between like sunrise and sunset, he goes out onto the top of this hill and he raises his baton. So like sunrise and sunset are like movements in a symphony.
Okay,
that's what I imagine Uriel is doing. Like he's up there in the sun and he's like making sure all the celestial bodies are doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? Yeah. And so so
he's not planting sunflowers up there or something.
No. Right. Or like eating sun chips or whatever,
No. If he was eating sun chips, Satan could hear him all the way in outer space with those loud bags.
Yeah, sun chips. That's Satan's contribution. He invented those after coming back from the sun. He's like, I got an idea. and they'll get everywhere no matter how careful you are. And you'll be sitting on the couch and you'll dig in between the cushions. You'll be like, oh, there's, and because you're gross humans, you'll eat it.
That's sun chips from 7 years ago, and it looks and tastes the same. They're healthier for you than regular chips,
right? Because the sun.
It's so weird. I don't think they ever made that health claim ever, like on the bag, because they just know it's not true. But didn't it just always seem like, oh yeah, they're healthier? Because they taste worse than regular chips, so they must be really healthy.
So anything that tastes like, just like on the spectrum of taste, right. like down in the bottom end, like it's like, well, it must be healthier because it tastes like shit.
It doesn't taste as good as a potato, so this must be good for you.
I don't know. Like I like me some sun chips. Yeah. I'll have some. Hey, you know what? Like I'll just eat whatever. You know, that's me.
Right? Yeah. Then again, don't ask me about what's healthy or what's not.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Don't ask either of us. Like, you know, I may look like this, but. No. Inside, outwardly, I'm shining like Lucifer. Inside, I'm the circle of gluttony.
That's right.
When I sit around the circle of gluttony, I really sit around. Yeah. I don't know. I work out. Keenan, this is the secret.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know. I do. I work out. I don't know if I've mentioned that on the show. I do it so that I can eat more. That's all it is.
Trick, huh?
You might be thinking it's like, oh, Lester, don't you want to like, you know, live longer? Don't you want to look better? No, I want those sun chips.
Right. So I keep finding them in my couch cushions.
That's my heaven, is I can stop all this exercise.
And just reach your hand into the couch cushions whenever you want and eat whatever's in there.
And I'll pull out a personal pan pizza. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
A Twizzler that never ends.
Right? The other end is just forever in the couch. And you're just pulling it out like a magician's trick. And God comes in, he's like, hey, do you want to like, you know, like see the rest of heaven? Do you want to, you know, you've been up here in this room for, you know, a while, and, you know, I'm a little bit worried about you, you know, just like, are you still eating the Twizzlers? All right. Okay. All right. Well, you can do what you want. I gave him free will.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so this guy, Uriel, is, this angel, he's so wrapped up in his work, you know, on the sun, that he doesn't notice Satan, and Satan's like, oh shit. And no, he doesn't say that, but he quickly changes himself into a cherub, not a cherubim, specifically a little baby cherub. So I guess Milton saw them as two different things, like cherubim and cherub.
Right.
But that gave me a visual, actually. Like Satan gets it wrong at first. Right. So he changes into this giant, multi-winged, multi-headed angel, and you just hear like, right. And so then we cut to a close-up of Uriel, like he hears something and he, you know, behind him, and he turns, and just in time, Satan has realized his mistake, and now it's just this little fat cherub.
Right, but he's like the Fred Armisen on Broad City, who doesn't want to. I think he owes them money. But he just says, no, I'm a little baby. I'm a baby. I have no money. I could pay you in blocks.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I imagined.
Right.
I think that's how Milton wrote it specifically. I was a little baby. I think that's even the voice I used when I mentioned this book in previous minutes.
Exactly.
And so yeah, so Uriel turns, and Satan addresses Uriel the way that a lower-ranking angel would address a superior. He hails him as one of the 7 archangels and as God's eyes keeping watch on the earth. Satan says that he's. Oh wow! I really actually did write it. Satan says that he's just a little cherub. I'm just a little cherub who came here from heaven because he was so. No, people are gonna hate us.
I just do the rest of the episode like that.
I just wanted to. Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Give us a 5-star review. No,
5-star waiting and we'll woo.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, maybe that's the secret. We just gotta be so disgustingly cute. People was like, oh, I can't help it.
Give them a 4-star rating. Look at that.
Yeah, he's like, look at those fat little legs. I gotta, you know. Yeah, but it works for Satan, right?
Advice from Lester Ryan Clark: be more like Satan.
Yes. Only when he's trying to deceive people with cuteness. Yeah. But yeah, so he says to Uriel that he's just a little cherub who came here from heaven because he was just so curious. I can't not do the voice.
Curious.
So curious about God's new project. And oh, please don't be mad, Mr. Uriel. I know I'm not supposed to be out here, but like I just couldn't resist the the burning desire. The opportunity to see it for myself, right? And guys, Uriel immediately buys it. Because, as Milton says, for neither man nor angel can discern hypocrisy, the only evil that walks invisible, except to God alone. So, because Uriel is good and he has never known evil, he can't see it, right? So he just implicitly trusts this little angel, right? And he does this thing that parents or teachers do. He's like, well, you're not supposed to be out here, but your intentions are innocent, so I'll let it slide, right? It's like, yeah, you can go take a look, right? But then he's like, but I'm not sure a little cherub like you can fully appreciate it. Who really can fathom the full breadth and glory and the majesty of God's work? I was there when he created light. I was there when he created the sun and the moon and the stars and the earth. And if I were writing this, we would cut back to Satan right now, and you'd see that he's getting a little agitated. This guy's going on about how awesome the cosmos is and how awesome God is, and Satan's tapping his little cherub foot, right? But then, Keenan, he's so angry that it becomes a hoof,
right?
And Uriel doesn't notice because he's going on and on about this new infrastructure that God has put him in charge of, right? And then he goes off on a tangent about the war in heaven, and he's like, oh man, that Lucifer, what a loser! And tiny little horns poke out of Satan's cherub curls, and he's like, oh. I heard that he was misunderstood.
Like a tragic hero, maybe.
Yeah, it was like But Uriel's like, no, the guy was a loser. Just a stupid idiot loser. Loser-fer is what they should call him. And Satan bursts into flames, but Uriel has just turned around, right, already to like face the control panel. He's like, actually, God told me to watch out because this big loser is probably going to try to get into Eden. But man, look at this security system. Ain't nothing getting past this baby. Right? And Satan tries to speak, but it's, the Satan voice, and he's got a cough, right? He's like right? And now it's the little cherub voice, and he's like, wow, what a loser.
Well, this has some questions I have. So so Uriel is innocent.
Yes.
So that he's so naive, but they just fought a war, against. So was Uriel not there? Was he just running the sun panel the whole time? Or?
No, Uriel was there.
So what does he mean? He doesn't know that there's.
Well, yeah. No, but like he doesn't. I think what Milton's trying to say is if he saw Lucifer or Satan, he'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm not supposed to let you in here. But he doesn't understand. He can't fathom the concept of lying.
Okay. So lying is the part, right?
So this cherub says he's not Satan. Well, no, actually, this cherub just says he's a little baby cherub.
Well, then he must be. Who would want to pretend to be this disgustingly cute little thing?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Certainly not a magnificent, resplendent angel like Lucifer, right? Yeah.
I also wonder if they know that his name is Satan now, that he's changed. Or...
Oh, yeah, because I don't think... Like that, like Milton tells us, right? But there's no, it's like, and from henceforth you shall be called Satan. Unless, I don't know, because we're going to flash back to the Battle in Heaven in one of the later books. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that'll, get uncovered there, right? Yeah. But,
well, Uriel, you done messed up big time, buddy.
But yeah.
And I'm telling to our listeners, if next time a baby comes up to you asking to see stuff, you just kick it in the balls.
Because you never know, it might be the devil.
Right, would be the Lord of all darkness, Father of lies.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry, says Lester Ryan Clark.
Oh, you're gonna quote me and not yourself?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know any better. I'm just a little baby.
I'm just a little co-host. I don't have the script in front of me.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, folks, that friend that just had a kid, asks you to hold it.
Don't hold it.
No.
Oh no.
It wants something. Trust me.
It looks like it wants love. Don't trust it.
No. It wants the fall of all mankind is what it wants. But yeah, so So eventually, Uriel finishes up, talking about how great all of God's works are, and he eventually tells Satan the way to Eden. He points the way. Satan thanks him, and he bows low. Again, we assume that Satan actually outranked him up in heaven when he was Lucifer, right? But he's pretending that he's a lower rank here. Right. And he flies away, down through the atmosphere, circling down and down, until at last he lands on Mount Nephates. So geographically, Nephates is the ancient name for a mountain range in Asia Minor, now known as the Taurus Mountains. These mountains are now located in modern-day Turkey. Well, no, I guess they would always have been located in modern-day Turkey, Lester. Jesus Christ. You guys know what I mean. Now, so that's geographically. Literarily, specifically in Roman mythology and literature, Nephates is mentioned as a mountain in the story of, I'm going to try this, Phaethon. Phaethon.
Phaethon, yeah.
Phaethon, right? That's what superhero priests say. Phaethon! Right? Before they summon Captain Planet.
That's right.
So Phaethon was the son of the sun god, Helios. So we got some sun stuff here. According to the myth, Phaethon attempted to drive his father's chariot across the sky, but lost control, causing chaos and disaster. I like how, this is the mountain that Satan lands on. He just got finished talking to, the person who lives and works inside the sun, right?
Right.
But so here we have Milton borrowing from Roman mythology, just like his predecessor Dante.
Yeah.
And folks, that is book 3 of Paradise Lost. Satan is in the building, or the earth.
Be careful out there, everybody.
Yeah, everybody watch out. He's here, folks. He walks amongst, he wants your extra long Twizzlers. He's coming for you.
You know what? I have a box here in my office of peppermint bark, and I love it. And I just pulled out a piece of peppermint bark that had no peppermint on it, and I was so mad that I sent a picture to my boyfriend, and I think that was Satan. I'm just going to put it out there.
I was just going to say, he's like, he doesn't like us. He doesn't like us joking about him, so he's like, no.
I don't want to believe it's a manufacturing error. I believe that Satan stole all the peppermint off my peppermint bark.
So he doesn't care when smarter people talk about Paradise Lost. He's like, yeah, this is going to make me look really good. Right. But he's like, what are they? This is personal pan. What? Get rid of this guy's peppermint.
And he doesn't even like peppermint. He didn't even eat it. That's the worst part of it.
No, he steals it and he throws it away. Just so you can't have it.
Yeah.
But
everyone be careful.
He has landed in Eden. What's going to happen next? Well, I think we know what's going to happen next. Let's not pretend we don't. Right. But we'll see how Milton tells it in the next installment of The History of the Devil, where we will be looking at book 4 of Paradise Lost. For now, that is all of my notes. All right, well, that was great. Thanks, past Lester and Keenan. Well, folks, I have been Lester Ryan Clark, both in the past and in the present. You can summon me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I am immune to the bounds of time, and I've been Keenan Diaz, and you can invoke me on Instagram and Letterboxd at Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, find more of our shows and other really cool podcasts at True Story FM. Like us on Instagram and join our Facebook listener group, Dante's Ninth Circle Sushi and Karaoke Bar, or feel free to drop us a message at thedevilsdetails@gmail.com. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? We're not even asking for your souls. Just give us a 5-pentagram rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. That and sharing the show by word of mouth or on social media helps our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. All right, folks. Until next week, love and hisses. Mwah! The Council of Hell reconvenes, right? He calls them all there, right? And everyone's like, but Satan's chair is empty, right? And it's like, oh, where's Satan? It's like, we're going to hear about his update, right? But then It's not empty, but you just see, like, onto the table, these two chubby little arms, and he pulls himself up. And he's like, "Webble angels, I have accomplished my duty." He's still in the little baby cherub form.
Of course.
Because he found out, like, as he's flying back, he has a lot of time to think. He's like, like, of all the forms that I've been a snake, I've been an angel with bat wings, I've been an angel with regular wings. I like this little cherub thing.
But Beelzebub is like, I don't know if that's a really good idea, boss. I don't think that's the way to rally the troops, boss.
And then Satan's like, "Oh, stop being such a grumpy grump, Beelzebub."
Great.
And I don't know, in this version, does this charm Beelzebub, or is he more disgusted?
I don't know. I think our listeners are certainly disgusted.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So let's get out of here. Okay. All right. Good night, everybody.